Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to share a really unsettling story, one that came directly from one of you, a listener.
Yeah, this one's pretty intense. It's an account from someone named Mew.
That's right. And it details this camping trip he took when he was exactly 25 years old.
Which is a significant age in Thai belief, isn't it? The whole Benjapes idea.
Exactly. And this story comes straight from a detailed email Mew sent to the host of an online channel describing what happened.
It's quite a story because it really touches on these old beliefs, but also his own skepticism at the time.
And then these encounters that, they really challenged everything he thought.
Definitely pushed the boundaries of normal reality for him.
So let's get into it. Mew is 27 now, but this all happened 2 years ago, right when he hit 25.
So maybe explain a bit about Benjapes for those who might not know.
Right. So the source material describes it as this potential turning point age. Around 25?
Yeah, it's traditionally seen as a time when you might be sort of more open to bad luck. Or maybe big life changes.
Or even, encounters with things you can't quite explain. It's seen as a year you need to be extra careful.
Need some spiritual backup, maybe?
Which sounds like exactly how his family felt. How did they handle his 25th birthday?
Oh, they took it very seriously. According to Mew, his parents were, really concerned.
Not just a party, then?
No. They had him doing all sorts of traditional things, making merit, going to the temple, spiritual cleansing rituals, the works.
Trying to protect him, basically, because they really believed in the risks of Benjapes.
Absolutely. Which was pretty much the total opposite of how Mew felt about it.
He wasn't buying it.
Not really. He said he saw Benjapes mostly as just, an old superstition, something the older generation believed in, not him personally.
But even with his skepticism, he had this camping trip planned right around that time, didn't he?
Yeah, a trip he'd been talking about for ages with his two best friends, Nye and Fluke.
They were all about the same age.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
And they all love the outdoors, forests, that kind of survival theme. Apparently, they even played survival video games together.
Ah, okay. So this wasn't just a casual picnic.
No, they wanted something a bit more rugged. And the trip itself was kind of a delayed birthday thing for Mew, about a week after he turned 25.
And the timing with the early COVID pandemic.
Right. Lots of places were shut down. People had long leave from work. So heading off to an isolated mountain spot probably seemed like a good idea, away from everything.
Did his parents try to stop him, given their worries?
Oh, yeah. They definitely tried to talk him out of it, specifically mentioning the Benjapes year. But Mew was determined. He insisted on going.
And then there's this moment with his grandfather just before he left. That stood out.
It really does. Because Mew thought his grandfather wasn't superstitious either. But his grandpa called him over specifically
To talk about the trip.
to give him advice about going into the forest, especially because he was 25. In his Benjapes year, it wasn't just be careful of bears.
It was spiritual advice.
Exactly. His grandfather explained that normally our own spiritual energy is kind of a barrier against forest spirits. Forests are usually okay unless you, actively trespass or provoke something.
What?
But someone in their Benjapes year, their spiritual energy is weaker, makes them more vulnerable, a potential target.
So it's about the person's state, not just the place. And he gave Mew actual rules, right? Specific ones.
8 of them. Mew thought they sounded completely superstitious, but his grandfather was so serious about it, he actually recorded them on his phone.
Okay, let's hear them. What were these rules?
All right, rule 1. If you hear a voice calling your name, you have to be sure it's your friends. If not, never answer it, or it'll follow you home.
Creepy start. Okay, number 2.
Rule 2. Avoid high places like cliffs or ledges. Something unseen might push you.
Rule 3.
Rule 3. Stick close to your friends. Your Benjapes energy is low, makes you easy pickings. Stay together, especially at night. Friends who aren't 25 offer some protection.
Safety in numbers, kind of. Rule 4.
Rule 4. If your friends' faces look weird, or you see strange things like hallucinations or actual spirits, it means the spirits aren't afraid of you anymore. They're showing themselves.
What do you do then?
You have to pretend you don't see anything. Act completely blind to it. That's supposedly the safe way.
Wow. Okay. Rule 5.
Rule 5. When you set up your tent, don't point the head of the tent towards the west. That's the direction of the dead. Makes it too easy for spirits to get close.
Rule 6. Getting very specific now.
Rule 6. Before you go in your tent, make sure no dirt or leaves get inside. And don't point your shoes towards the tent opening. It's like leaving a trail for spirits right to where you're sleeping.
Right. Rule 7.
Rule 7. Before bed, clean all leftover food off your plates. Put everything away properly, sealed in bags or containers. If you don't, spirits will come looking for a meal, and they might let you see or hear them.
And the last one, Rule 8.
Rule 8. If a really strong wind suddenly kicks up, just around your campsite, nowhere else. That's a warning. It means you've broken one of the rules, maybe a forest rule or a spirit rule. You've been marked.
Okay. Is there a way to fix it?
Yes. To fix it, you have to put fresh food, not leftovers, on a plate outside the tent entrance before you sleep. Pray for safety, and then you just have to tolerate whatever comes to eat it.
Just tolerate it. Wow, that's quite a list. So Mew records all this, still thinking it's superstition.
Pretty much. He found it all a bit much, but his grandfather's seriousness made him save it. Just in case, maybe.
So he says his goodbyes, gets one last warning from Grandpa, and heads off.
Yep. Meets Nye and Fluke. They have a vehicle that can handle mountain roads, grab some supplies.
But they didn't go to a regular national park campsite, did they?
No, they wanted that more survival feel, so they found a spot outside the designated zones, more isolated.
Okay. So they arrive, find a place to camp.
Yeah, found a flat pit a little down from where they parked the car. They start setting up the tents, one for Mew, one for Nye and Fluke, to share, since Fluke was a bigger guy.
And things start getting weird pretty quickly.
Almost immediately. While Mew's putting up his tent, he hears this really harsh, nasty voice right behind him say, "I'm hungry. I'm hungry."
Out of nowhere.
Yeah. He assumed it was Fluke messing around, but the tone felt wrong. Really aggressive.
What did he do?
He called out to Nye, who was nearby, asked for help with the tent. Then he turned around, expecting to see Fluke still there, to tell him to go get firewood. And Fluke wasn't there. Instead, Mew saw Fluke walking back towards them, already carrying a load of firewood.
Wait, so Fluke had already left?
Yeah. Mew asked him, "When did you go get that?" And Fluke was like, "Oh, I went a little while ago."
So if Fluke was gone, who whispered, "I'm hungry," right behind you?
Exactly. That unsettling question. Mew tried to rationalize it. Maybe he misheard. Maybe Nye said something earlier. But it didn't feel right.
And it didn't stop there, did it?
No. As he kept working on the tent, he heard another voice.
The same one.
No, different. This one was calm, almost conversational. But Mew described it as chilling. It just asked, "Are you hungry?"
Okay, that's seriously creepy. Just a quiet question hanging in the air.
He froze. He knew instantly it wasn't Nye or Fluke. Nye was close by but hadn't said anything.
The panic must have started setting in.
Yeah, he said his grandfather's rules immediately popped into his head. Especially Rule 1, don't answer voices that aren't your friends.
Did his friends notice?
Nye saw him just standing there, motionless, and asked if he was all right. Mew just kind of shook it off, said he was fine. He realized they hadn't heard the voice at all.
He didn't tell them.
No, he hesitated, worried they'd laugh or just say he was imagining things because he was hungry. But that feeling of dread was starting to build.
So the rules he'd dismissed are suddenly feeling very real. Did he check anything? Remember Rule 5?
He did, yeah. He sort of sneakily used his phone compass to check his tent. Big relief the head wasn't pointing west, so Rule 5 was okay, maybe just by luck.
But his friends could tell something was up.
Yeah, they noticed he was really quiet, tense. And I asked him again later, like, "Are you sure you're okay? You've been acting weird since we got here."
And then they started drinking later that evening. This is where it really ramps up, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Fluke offered Mew a nice cold beer. Holds up the glass. He sees it. This dark, rotting hand covered in pus and sores.
Oh.
Just appears out of nowhere, grabs the glass Fluke is holding out, and a voice says, "Take it. I poured it for you."
Oh my God. Just a disembodied, decaying hand.
That's how he described it. Utterly horrifying. His reaction was instant. He pulled his own hand back, didn't take the glass.
What did he do?
He quickly grabbed a different glass, poured his own beer, and just downed it. Wow. Avoided that offered glass completely.
His heart must have been pounding out of his chest.
Totally. But he tried not to show it. Seeing that hand, hearing that voice, for Mew, it was like, okay, this is real. Grandpa was right. The fun trip was over. Just dread now.
Did Fluke or Nye react to the hand? Did they see it?
It doesn't seem like it. The source focuses on Mew's experience. Fluke just offered the beer normally. It fits that pattern. Only Mew, the vulnerable one, saw it.
Okay, so the evening continues. It's getting late.
Around 10 p.m. Nye's playing guitar. Nye and Fluke are drinking pretty heavily. Mew's just sitting there tense, secretly looking at those rules on his phone again.
And Fluke notices.
Fluke leans over, maybe a bit drunk, trying to see what Mew's reading so intently.
And that leads to the next event.
Yes. As Fluke leaned in close, Mew looked at his face and saw it was just covered in spiders.
Yeah.
Like a dozen or more crawling all over him.
Spiders all over his friend's face. That's Rule 4 again, isn't it? Seeing strange things on friends.
Exactly. A direct hit with Rule 4. And Fluke.
He didn't feel them. Didn't know.
Completely oblivious, according to Mew. Mew was so shocked he dropped his own glass, spilled his drink. Fluke just yelled at him, "Hey, wasting beer!" No idea what Mew was seeing.
What did Nye do?
Nye stopped playing guitar, looked over. "Mew, what is wrong with you? You've been weird all day."
Mew must have been barely holding it together, seeing things no one else could.
He couldn't explain. He just said, "We're out of beer anyway. Let's just go to bed. I don't feel so good."
His friends bought it.
They agreed. Probably figured he was just feeling sick or drunk. But they definitely commented again on how strange he was acting.
So, bedtime. Did they remember any rules then?
They did remember one, Rule 7, about the food. They gathered up all the leftovers and sealed them in a bag properly before turning in.
And used sleeping arrangements. He wasn't going to sleep alone now, was he?
No way. He'd initially planned his own tent, but Rule 3, stick with friends for protection, was weighing on him. He asked Fluke if he could bunk in their tent with Nye.
How did they take that?
Nye seemed a bit put out by the last-minute change, but they said okay.
And Mew followed Rule 6 too, right? The shoes and dirt.
Consciously. He took his shoes off outside, made sure they weren't pointing towards the tent opening, swept dirt away from the entrance. He was really trying to follow the instructions now.
Okay, so he gets into the tent with Fluke, zipping it up.
And he hears it again from outside the tent. That same distinct voice. "I'm hungry."
The same voice from earlier.
Yes. And this time, maybe it was fear, maybe annoyance, maybe just being pushed too far. Mew yelled back.
"Oh no!" he responded.
He yelled something like, "Be quiet, stop bothering me."
He broke rule number 1, don't answer.
Exactly. And the effect was instantaneous. Fluke, who was already settling down inside the tent, immediately said, "Why are you yelling at me? I didn't say anything."
Oh, that's chilling. Confirmation.
Bitter confirmation. The voice was outside. It wasn't Fluke, and Fluke hadn't heard it. Mew felt this wave of terror, just told Fluke, nothing. Go to sleep.
And Rule 8, the consequence for breaking a rule.
It happened right then. A sudden, intense cold just seemed to wrap around Mew, and outside, the wind just went crazy, violently whipping branches against the tent fabric.
The signal, the strong wind.
The signal from Rule 8. He knew he'd messed up. Broken a rule, been marked. He started shaking, couldn't stop.
But Rule 8 also had the remedy, didn't it? The offering.
He remembered. He knew, despite being absolutely petrified, he had to go outside and offer fresh food, like the rule said.
He actually went out.
He forced himself. Hands trembling, he unzipped the tent, went out into that howling wind, found some fresh meat they'd brought among the supplies.
And while he's preparing it...
As he's putting the meat on a plate, the wind just stopped. Abruptly. Silence.
Okay. Maybe it worked. The intention?
Not quite. Because then he heard it. Laughter.
Laughter.
Yeah, but not normal laughter. It was coming from all around him. Sounded like children, old women, men.
Boy.
Just this chorus of horrible, chilling laughter.
And he looked?
He looked around, and he saw them.
Saw who?
Figures, standing in a circle all around the campsite, just beyond the tents. He described them. Decayed faces, rotten looking, grinning these huge, horrible grins. Men, women, old people, even children. The laughter was coming from
A ring of dead things.
That's what it sounded like, just standing there watching, grinning.
Did they come closer? Did they attack?
No. He specifically noted that none of them crossed into the circle where the tents were. They stayed on the perimeter, but just watching, laughing.
And Mew still had to finish the ritual.
Somehow, through the terror, he did. He placed the plate with the fresh meat right there at the entrance to his tent. Completed the Rule 8 instruction.
Then what?
He scrabbled back inside the tent as fast as he could, zipped it tight, and just started praying silently, begging them to leave him alone.
Did the laughter stop?
Slowly, yeah.
Yeah.
It faded away, and then it was quiet again.
Just silence.
He lay there, still shaking uncontrollably, trying to force himself to sleep. But then he heard something else. Footsteps, maybe. Or rustling sounds. Coming towards the tent, stopping right outside.
She didn't look.
Too scared, he just froze, listening.
What happened next? This is unbearable.
He heard a voice right outside the canvas. It said, "Ow! Ow! Who put this here?" Followed by a loud thud, like someone falling.
Someone tripped over the food.
That's what it sounded like. Startled, Mew quickly looked around inside the tent. And he was alone.
Wait, Fluke wasn't in the tent with him?
No. He'd asked Fluke to share for protection, but Fluke wasn't there.
Where was he?
Then Mew heard Fluke's voice from outside. "Hey, Mew! Did you put this plate of food here? I just came out to pee and I slipped on it. You really cracked my head on a tree."
So Fluke tripped on the offering.
Apparently.
Ugh.
Mew unzipped the tent flap just enough to peek out. He saw Fluke on the ground, the meat spilled everywhere. Mew was just speechless, shaking like a leaf.
And as Fluke is getting up,
As Fluke starts to push himself up, Mew sees them. 2 hands, shriveled, wrinkled, covered in sores and pus, reaching out from right behind Fluke and grabbing his face.
oh God, more visions. Rule 4 again.
Seems like it. Horrifying sights. And Fluke, still kind of stumbling from the fall, starts walking towards the tent, but his face is being held by these things. And he seems totally unaware.
Your hands were controlling him, making him walk.
It looks like it. And then Mew heard it. Loud cracking sounds, like bone snapping.
What was happening?
He watched, frozen as the hands just twisted Fluke's neck. He heard the snaps, the sword said, "Gak, gak." Sounds just twisting and twisting until his head was at this completely unnatural angle, almost backwards.
But Fluke kept walking.
Kept stumbling forward, blindly. Mew was yelling his name. "Fluke! Fluke! What's wrong?" Just horrified.
And the final image. The thing he saw before he blacked out.
The last thing Mew saw. Fluke's head twisted all the way around. But the face, looking back at him, it wasn't Fluke anymore.
What was it?
It was the face of a grinning old man.
No.
Wide, white, completely blank eyes. And this terrifying, huge grin stretching from ear to ear.
And that's when he passed out.
Yeah. The sheer horror of that sight just made him black out completely.
Unbelievable. So what happened then? How did he end up okay, relatively speaking?
Well, he woke up later in a hospital room, totally confused, disoriented. His parents were there, looking incredibly relieved.
Was he badly hurt?
He tried to move and realized he was injured. Broken ribs, other injuries, pretty banged up.
How did he get from the mountain to the hospital? What about Nye and Fluke?
Nye and Fluke showed up at the hospital soon after he woke up. Mew immediately asked them, what happened? How did I get here?
What was their story of that night? It must have been different.
Very different. Fluke told him that he woke up because Mew was outside the tent, screaming his head off.
Screaming what?
Things like, "Don't hurt me, don't hurt me," just screaming and thrashing around wildly.
So from their perspective, they didn't see the figures, the hands, the twisted neck, none of that.
No. Their account is that they opened the tent flap and saw Mew acting completely out of his mind, screaming, flailing.
What did they do?
They tried to calm him down, grab him. But Mew apparently shoved Fluke away hard and just took off running into the darkness towards the steep slope near their camp.
He ran off the edge.
Nye and Fluke chased after him. He ran and started tumbling, reeling down the side of the mountain.
He could have been killed.
Easily. But the source says he was incredibly lucky. He crashed into a tree partway down, and that stopped his fall, if not for that tree.
Wow. Pure luck. How did they get him out?
Nye and Fluke couldn't get down to him safely. They managed to get help, call some local villagers, and a rescue team. They were the ones who retrieved Mew and got him transported to the hospital.
His poor mother. The relief must have been immense.
Oh, absolutely. She apparently kept saying how unbelievably fortunate he was just to be alive after that fall.
And after hearing their side and reflecting, what did Mew take away from it all?
Well, he looked at Nye, who was 24 then, remember, coming up on his own Benjapes year, and basically warned him. Said, "Look what happened to me. My Benjapes was severe. Be ready." Used himself as the cautionary tale.
So the skepticism was well and truly gone.
Completely evaporated. 2 years later, he says it's all still crystal clear in his mind. He is now a firm believer in Benjapes, in the potential for real misfortune, real encounters with something during that age. And he believes in the importance of making merit for protection.
It's an incredible story. You have this collision of ancient belief, a specific vulnerable age, a remote location, these very precise rules from his grandfather.
And then these experiences that seem to directly mirror or trigger those rules. He breaks Rule 1 by answering the voice,
Which leads to the win from Rule 8. He tries the Rule 8 remedy with the food.
which then gets tangled up with Fluke tripping and leads into that final horrifying sequence. And all those visions, the hand, the spiders, the old man's face, they fit Rule 4 perfectly.
It really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? How much was his perception altered by the fear, the age, the belief system kicking in?
Versus, was there actually something there, something external, targeting him because his spiritual defenses were supposedly down during his Benjapes?
Did his mind create the horror, or did the horror find a way into his mind because he was vulnerable? It's a deeply unsettling question.
A really powerful, terrifying account. It certainly makes you think twice about dismissing old warnings, especially in certain places at certain times.
If you found this story as gripping and, frankly, terrifying as we did, Mew originally shared it with the host of the YouTube channel, Horror Docs. It's definitely worth checking out that channel if you appreciate these kinds of chilling personal accounts.
And maybe for you listening, have you heard of Benjapes before? Or maybe there are similar beliefs in your culture about certain ages or certain places holding specific dangers or vulnerabilities.
It's definitely a story that lingers. Makes you ponder what might be just beyond our normal senses, especially when tradition warns us to be careful.
Food for thought, for sure.
Definitely. Well, that's all the time we have for today. We hope you found Mew's story as compelling as we did. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs, if you haven't already.
Your support really helps us bring more stories like this to light. We'll be back soon with another one. Until then, stay safe.
Take care, everyone.